Today's episode of Breathe More is brought to you by The Collective. Are you the only one in your friend group using words like healing? That resonates. Inner child. My rising sign is breathwork, spiritual awakening, trigger, ancestral healing. I need to regulate my nervous system. Microdosing. I got activated. And don't feel heard or understood? Join The Collective, a community that speaks your language and gets you. Welcome to another episode of Breathe More. I'm so excited for today because you get to meet one of my upcoming guest healers in the collective. Her name is Erika Alcala, and I met her on Instagram. And as soon as I came across her page, I was so intrigued to learn more about her because she has all these beautiful pictures of crystals, and I could tell that she's just so passionate about the work she does. Also, I feel like there's a little bit of mystery too, where I'm like, what else does she do? She talks a lot about crystals, but I can see that she has all of this other medicine within her. And so part of the reason why I invited her is because I feel that you can be inspired by her story. And also, it's so wonderful to learn other modalities. And I want you to be exposed to practical ways that you can incorporate different tools into your life to bring more peace and joy and alignment. And I feel like Erica is a beautiful representation of that. So thank you so much for being here, Erica.
Thanks so much for having me here. I'm so inspired by you and your work. I saw you floating around social media like five people who I love following, and to be able to connect with you and be here, it's such an honor and a pleasure.
Oh, thank you, Erica. So why don't you tell us, how did you get into this world of healing? What inspired you? Have you always been in it? Tell us a little bit more about your story.
Okay, so my first crystal I ended up getting when I was about 10 years old. And it sounds really funny saying that now because nowadays a lot of kids I hear go to show and tell with all their minerals. But back then, like we didn't really have that. So one of my teachers had funny money, and we would get that when we were good and we completed our assignments, and then we were able to purchase like on a Friday what we wanted to get. And that was the first time I ever had my first crystal, which I still have. It's an amethyst, and I've pretty much been exposed to energy for a while since I was younger. My mother was Catholic, and so was my grandmother in El Rancho. And it was easy for them to go to their capilla, their church. And then when they came over here, my grandmother didn't have a community. I didn't see her going to church on Sundays. My mother, during that time, was able to explore other avenues. So one of the things I'm really grateful to my mother is that we explored different forms of religion stemming out from Christianity. And I love getting to learn different aspects and coming out like honoring them, even though it wasn't a path for us. And we also explored like Buddhist temples and just being in that inner silence. I knew that was my calling, but again, it was a cultural difference at the time. Eventually, my mom found a meditation group by LAX in LA, and we started meditating, and I was about 10 to 11 at that time.
That's so impressive.
Yeah, so the meditation that I have as a child does not compare to the meditation that I have as an adult. Like, there's no way I can go back and get all of those visions and all of the gifts that were given to me as a child, but keeping that in mind as an adult and meditating with devotion, it's a whole new level as well. So I think it's really important to introduce our kids young to meditation so that we can learn to find that special inner sanctuary.
I absolutely agree with you. I'm not a mother, but I have a nephew who's 4 years old and a baby niece. She's not there yet. But since the time that basically he was like 2 years old, I would teach him to connect intimately with his breath. And it would be so cute and beautiful to see him like close his eyes and deeply breathe. And my sister tells me, she's like, it stayed with him. Like he actually reminds me to breathe. When he notices that I'm feeling stressed out and overwhelmed, like he'll tell me, Mami, respira, take a deep breath. And so I am jealous of you that
Mm.
from such a young age, you were exposed to how powerful it is to be mindful, to be in silence, to connect with ourselves. And what a beautiful gift that your mom has given you,
Yeah.
where from such a young age, you were able to connect with this power. And it's interesting that you say that. If I understand correctly how you were describing it, that when you were younger, you feel like that connection was even stronger as an adult. Can you explain a little bit more of what you attribute that to?
Sure. So I now have a path. It's called Self Realization Fellowship. It's also a meditation group. And I just want to note that the circle my mother found was founded by a lot of healers, curandero, and a botanica. And at the time, it was pretty clean energy. But then you saw egos get in the way.
Mm.
So it's really important to find a good group. So I eventually left the group because of my ego. But then looking back, it was almost like my higher calling, like guiding me because there was a bad presence that came in the way. Fast forward, I felt like, "Oh, I wanna be mundane, like a normal child." My ego got in the way, but I still took what I learned and I applied it, and I just knew that there was truth, I just didn't have a solid foundation. Eventually, 5 years later, I ended up staying up late one night and watching Hugh Hauser. I don't know, the older people may remember him, and he did a tour of Lake Shrine, and then at the same time, my mother was speaking to, her best friend, which is, like, one of my fairy godmothers, and she also told her about Lake Shrine. So together, we both found that path that ended up being so wonderful. And we merged. And ever since then, we started true meditation breath work, which is founded by a guru. And it just like a stronger foundation that links us to like Vedic and like truth. Like I'll just say it.
And how old were you then?
I was 20. So I
Okay.
stopped meditating for 5 years, but I knew that was truth. I just didn't have the solid foundation of why or how or even the breath work. But the gifts later I found out through our guru is that kids have this beautiful magical ability up until age 4. And then from there, like parents don't like to hear this when I do mention it, but the ego starts to take over. And then we start being more aware of our surroundings and the culture around us that we slowly start losing it. But when I tell some parents that who are a little bit more spiritually active, they're like, oh no, it's going to stay with her forever. But no, there are parts that dissipate if they're not cultivated. So
Yeah.
when I was a child, I would see like this light with my open eyes. And then it turns out later in my path in exploring meditation, I found out that what I was seeing was like the negative of the 5 pointed star, which is really hard to see in meditation. So somehow our dharma and our calling aligns everything together. But kids are definitely more receptive. And it really gives a strong foundation for us to have a safe place to go to. Yeah.
That is so wonderful. My spirituality started with the Catholic religion as well. And my parents still are very Catholic. I'm no longer a part of the church. I left it when I was 18. But one of the things that now, having healed the trauma around being raised Catholic, that I really appreciate are the rituals, but also my connection when I was young. I remember being completely connected with angels. Like, that was my thing where I would see them as my friends, I would talk to them, I would even pray to them, which as a Catholic, you're not supposed to pray, but, like, connecting with my guardian angel, Ángel de la Guardia, like, there's a prayer specifically for to connect with that, and I'm so grateful for that because since transitioning into the healing that I do now, it definitely has influenced it, and it has allowed me to, I don't know, it's like see things differently, just to have that foundation, and for me, like, not questioning it, but just feel supported. But also, I feel like it has allowed my inner child to be part of my current spiritual experience journey. Like, on my altar, I have a picture of me as a child, and every morning I light a candle for the divine feminine and I pray to her and I ask her or I thank her or whatever it may be. And then the second candle that I light is for my inner child. And I talk to her and I love on her and I encourage her to continue to be creative and to continue to have these big dreams. When I, the adult, am feeling anxious and worried, I make the connection that she is feeling uncertain and unsafe. And so I remind her and me that we have everything that we need, that we know how to bring in miracles into our life, that we have all this support. And for me, it just brings me peace. It just makes my heart feel open and big and taken care of and supported. And I truly am grateful for that result that has come through growing up in a Catholic religion. And I really admire how you decided what is speaking to you, what's not speaking to you, what you've outgrown, and continue to allow it to develop. I think that is a reflection of how authentic you are as a human and how true you are to yourself. And also just taking ownership for your parts. It's a beautiful example of just what an awesome human you are.
I'm happy to hear that you had a good connection because a lot of people that I help heal with the minerals have a really unfortunate trauma with religion or
I mean, yeah, I had that too. It's been years of undoing and just like reprogramming and releasing the shame. But I have chosen to not completely abandon all parts of it, but keep the parts that feel positive to me, that make me feel good and all of that. But tell me more about how you help your clients.
Oh, sure. I really am like the Crystal Madre is founded. You can see that it kind of resembles Mother Mary in the logo. And I dedicated the shop to God as Divine Mother. So it's the female aspect, the part that's easier to connect with the divine. And it's very nurturing. So I absolutely love, I believe in source, I believe in God. And I really wanted to implement that in the minerals because people are searching and I want that foundation of love to be there more than just the mineral. There's an extra connection and extension to the divine. But I started helping people when I found through my own spiritual journey that I couldn't connect anymore. As you know, I've been meditating since I was a young child and I've had those tools. But I do hear that most people that are in a spiritual journey have a dark night of the soul moment where even if they believe in God or even if they believe in source or all of a sudden like this shift happens and they almost feel like they lost themselves. Well, I had lost my mother about 10 years ago, and then fast forward a few years later, thanks to her guidance, I was able to seek a fertility journey which started out solo, and then I ended up falling in love with my never him, which is my best friend. One thing led to another. I knew that I wanted to have a child because we were friends. We sped along the journey. And then all of a sudden, as soon as I conceived, which without us even knowing, there was like a little bit like turbulence in our relationship. And we ended up breaking up when my daughter was about one. But it was such a traumatic experience on top of the grief that I felt from my mother, now also losing my best friend. And it was traumatic in the way that he like built a wall around me. And I really felt or was led to believe that it was my fault. And after being postpartum, even though I was meditating and I took extra Kriya vows as a yogini to accept certain sacred breath work, I still couldn't connect to myself. Like I knew God was there. I knew everything, but it's almost like I was shown like this hole, this really, really dark hole, which I heard many people go through. I felt like pouncing on my head. I was brain fog. Again, applying the meditation and the breath work, it just wasn't working. Then my ex suggested I try Reiki with a friend. And she came over and I've done Reiki before, but this time it was like a 911. Like I needed to be shown all the magic that's there aside from religion and from meditation. And I started feeling myself like all the negativity that was not aligning with myself, that I was trying to force so much, get out the way. She suggested a trip to Sedona. And that day he moved out of the house. Being around the vortexes more and more, I could feel myself. And of course, we walked into a crystal shop and I found minerals with description. So even though I had collected minerals my whole life, I didn't really start implementing for use until I experienced that dark night of the soul moment. So I was able to use the crystals to hold intention. Like I remember the first one I picked up was rhodonite for forgiveness, green obsidian, which is considered alchemy because it's man made, but that helped me with my heart. And then just everything, every way that I was unable to hold space for myself, I did in a mineral.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so then after that, I was in transition with work. I had lost my really good job. They closed their doors. I'm glad that happened because I would have been stuck there for a really long time. Spirituality has always been my jam. I just didn't realize you can make a living off of it. So then I was trying baking. I did a really good job. I was really creative and I was still styling clients on the side when all of a sudden I entered a competition. It was a Sage Goddess competition. I said, if I win, or it was a giveaway. I said, if I win this giveaway, which she always does, and 1,000 people enters, this means that I'm supposed to be a crystal healer and connect with the elements. And I remember receiving the package and I opened it and I squealed when I saw the mineral. And actually, it's right here.
Oh, how beautiful.
This is the green.
Wow, that's gorgeous and huge.
Yeah, it's worth like, I don't know, $1,000, she said at the time, because at the time it was rare, and
Yeah.
now more for it has come up. So then I remember my grandmother was like, "Oh my god, what's all that squealing?" I said, "Oh my god, like, that's it. Minerals wanna connect with me." So then I went to another Sage Goddess event, and a mother-daughter were leaving, and they gave me their ticket, and I ended up winning again, and by then I had already made the choice that I was going to be working with minerals to help people the way that they helped me. And then the minute she said my name, she said the rainbow grew. I know that's a lot of woo woo for some people, but they're energetic beings. So that's how I started selling crystals to share the magic. And then, like you, I became intuitive. I remember you saying that you were doing the breath work and all of a sudden you were led to things intuitively. That happened to me too with minerals. Like I could tell who needed what. And it was just bringing so much joy to people when they couldn't hold space for themselves. Yeah.
That's so inspiring, especially, it's so easy for us to, when something quote unquote bad happens, like we lose our job or our relationship ends or whatever it may be, something that we didn't expect. You decided to instead listen to your intuition, to follow that guidance. Not only that, but to like set a goal for yourself. And the universe reflected it back to you, like responded. It's like, yes, we've been nudging you this whole time. And we have helped you to create the space for you to really step into your purpose. And you didn't let any fear or doubt, or maybe there was some of that, but it didn't stop you, right? Like you decided to show up. You're like, wait, these messages are getting stronger. Like I can't ignore them. And here you are. Like, how many years later is this that you have your business?
I started my business when my daughter, which I call Crystal Baby, she was about 14 months, right when my ex moved. And I started seeing magic through her unfold. And we started off doing pop ups, in person event off Abbot Kinney. And I remember crying tears of joy because I was crying, I was driving, and I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur and have my own business. So I would cry tears of joy, like selling on Abbot Kinney and connecting with people. Like it was so beautiful. And then from there, I started, pandemic happened and we had a shift from in-person presence to an online presence, which is really expensive and massive. During that time, my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer. Before that, we had a lot of grief. We lost my mother, we lost my uncle, both children of my mother. And she was so strong. She was my rock, my second rock. So then she was so strong for so long, but something shifted in the pandemic where people that needed to leave, left. And that was my grandmother. So during pandemic, I was caretaking her. I was putting up the fight for the business to survive, and I was raising a toddler. That
And you're
was
a single mom.
Mhm. That was a really
Wow.
hard moment, and I really connected to minerals. One in particular was the beta quartz. This is a caregiving stone and a heart expansive stone. It's a mineral that starts off as one mineral, it's a pseudomorph, and then it morphs, and then it becomes another. So what we're looking at here is the
Mm.
fossil. So the beta quartz describes, like, my transition through pandemic. My grandmother ended up passing away in 2021, so more grief on top of grief. The minerals like really help me, and they also help me connect to my viewers and my clients and teach them and educate them throughout the whole pandemic. And then afterwards I decided to, since I did learn Reiki and energy work in pre-pandemic, pandemic I was just too busy to like really heal people as I was healing myself. I was grieving and caretaking. During that time, I also got multiple certifications with my mentor, Sage Goddess, who I got the crystal from. I told her, like, "Are you gonna start teaching crystal masters again?" She said, "No, but you'll have another teacher." And I said, "You're going to be my teacher." And she's like, "I don't think I'm going to do that again." So then I ended up getting certification through Hibiscus Moon, which teaches you the scientific approach to minerals as well as the woo. And then after that, Sage Goddess opened her doors. So she did end up being
You manifested it.
yeah, so then after that, I decided to open my doors and teach and help people energetically as well, connect to the minerals. So there's so many different ways.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit? Because for those of you listening, you're probably wondering, like, wait, but how do crystals actually help? Or what is she talking about? Like, how does the energy of minerals going to help me process my grief or manifest love or whatever it may be? Can you just like break it down concisely? Like, what happens? Like, how does a crystal or minerals help you with that?
Yes, I'm sure many of us have vibrated with minerals. We all have them, and sometimes we don't know how to connect with them. So, crystals have their own aura. We have auras as well, and so do crystals. So, many times they say that the crystal chooses you based on whatever it is that you need to heal. So, crystals help us match a vibration, like to whatever intention it is that you wish to manifest. So, crystals help physically. So they say, of course, you should always never go over
Consult a doctor.
yeah, to the
Yes.
doctor. Never put crystals before going to the doctor, but they say they help physically, say they help spiritually and also mentally. And physically, it is even true because sometimes you have like lithium as a mineral, and lithium, we do take it to help us with depression and anxiety. And there's also zinc. So it does kind of correlate to one another. But yeah, minerals help us raise our vibration. They are living beings. That scares people sometimes, but there is scientific evidence to prove that they are living beings and they hold their certain frequencies. Some are downers. So you can have like, if you want a downer and chill out and ground, or if you want like an upper to like meditate and give you that energy. So they help hold space for us when we're unable to. And they also help align your chakras. Like you can use a crystal to set intention. You can wear your minerals. You can also do healing, you can meditate. You can just look at them. Just being around them shifts the energy
Yeah.
field. Mhm.
Beautiful. And yeah, some people even sleep with them, right? Like I know some people sometimes put them like under their pillow or next to on their nightstand. Sometimes like I've been told depending on what's going on in my life like, "Oh, just put it in your pocket, like always have it on you or in your purse." And so I have so many crystals at this point. I've collected so many. I'm not an expert at all. More than anything, similar to what you were just saying, like crystals call you, and that's how I've been acquiring different crystals where depending on what's going on in my life, I'll step into a crystal shop and just let it pick me.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just naturally taken to that spot. I hold it in my hand. Sometimes I even hold it up into my heart center and I do a little muscle testing and see if it wants to go home with me. And I'm excited just to continue learning from you. Erica is going to be hosting a guest healer workshop in my membership, The Collective, on Saturday, March 23rd. And this workshop, I'll let you share a little bit more about it, but it's with the intention of celebrating the spring equinox, which is happening on Tuesday, March 19th. So, can you tell us what we can expect at your workshop?
Sure. So we'll be able to connect with minerals a little bit more because the minerals, again, don't do the job. They kind of meet you halfway. You have to open yourself up to receive the gifts and guidance that the minerals have. But at the end of the day, it's you doing the work. And we're going to learn a little bit on how to use our crystals, what different crystal formations do, or how they emanate their frequencies. We'll learn a little bit of the scientific aspect behind it, as well as some of the spiritual. We'll learn a little bit about how to cleanse your crystals. There's always a lot of questions about that, but it is a wonderful time because it is spring equinox, and that's a time of renewal. It's a time for new beginnings. It's time to renew your vows to yourself that you have set, and it's welcoming the light So, of course, before welcoming the light, it's also important to clear. So, we'll be doing a little meditative exercise as well with minerals, and you'll be able to connect on new levels. And hopefully, we'll be able to answer some questions for you. But also, it's before eclipse season. So, it's great to move that gunk out before on a cellular level, which crystals help you do before we get into that as well.
I can't wait. I'm so excited to learn more from you. If you're in the collective, this workshop is free for you. If you're interested after hearing our conversation, I invite you to go to the show notes where you can click on the link to sign up for the workshop as well. And Erica, what services are you offering right now? Or how can people work with you or what's going on in your world?
Thank you so much for asking that because right now it's very grassroots style. Like you couldn't even find info on me. So basically, I pretty much sell out of Instagram. I built a really loyal, strong Instagram community. But you can always reach out if you don't have an Instagram by emailing me. And we'll put that down below, I'm sure. If you want to buy minerals from me, reach out. I hold a lot of services as well where I can connect you to your minerals if you don't know what minerals you want to work with. I offer services where we can do like a meditation and receive some downloads, and we can provide you with the mineral collection that it'll intuitively choose you. I love working that way, like just giving it
That is
a
so
different.
fun.
Yes.
Yeah, that feels like a concierge offering, like,
Mhm.
"Okay, what's going on in your life? Let's connect." And then you prescribing the different minerals and crystals that can help support someone.
Yeah.
Such a great offer.
Usually intuitive, but we can also work one-on-one and do crystal prescriptions if you want to actually choose. But I'd also offer crystal healings and ceremonial services based on the elements, which will also be covering like the elements within the collective. But I do ceremony as well as lead you through whatever is in the astros, and also crystal divinations. Those are so much fun. Like I do a reading by like getting crystals and throwing them, and where they fall is where what comes to you, the crystal guidance. I love crystal guidance because it's not about predicting your future, it's about guiding you through your future. And that has required the most trusting the minerals. And myself, I don't
Wow.
consider myself a psychic, but truly trusting the minerals to see what they say has been so beautiful. But I pretty much can help you with any aspect of minerals from purchasing to healing to workshops, like doing workshops to work with the minerals, to crystal elixirs, to setting grids. That's why I don't tire of this job. There's so much to learn and to do always.
Oh my gosh, I'm just so impressed by you. If any of you are wanting to learn more about crystals and how it can help you, please go follow her, first of all, on Instagram. Her posts are just so beautiful. She always finds the most incredible minerals. And I feel like it's like eye candy. It's like, wow, look at the
Mhm.
sparkles on that. Or what's this one about? So make sure you follow her. And my mind is just blown away of how much one can do with crystals and how healing they can be. So
Mhm.
thank you so much for, again, following that nudge, that intuition, for allowing yourself to be guided, and then for being courageous enough to offer your gifts to the world. So, thank you, Erica. And thank you so much for being here
Thank
today as well.
you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I look forward to seeing you at our workshop on Saturday, March 23rd at 10 a.m. Pacific time. If you can't attend live, we always have a replay available to you. And I also invite you to join the collective because there you're not only going to have access to Erica's workshop, but a whole library of other resources of amazing healers just like her to teach you tools, again, to navigate this stressful world that we live in so that you can feel confident and empowered and just live a more calmer, grounded life. All right. I will see you next time. Bye.
Okay.